Michael. Give it up for these awesome dudes.
I think you're asleep, Michael.
Yeah, I think we need to try that again, right? Give it up for LeVar and Michael.
There we go. Very nice.
Very nice.
LeVar, I got to tell you
Michael.
something.
Yes.
Once again, I'm a little upset.
Why?
First of all, beautiful head of hair, as usual. I have none. And also, you can wear some clothes like nobody I've ever seen.
Doesn't look bad.
I mean, and I got to tell you something. When we talked about this before, it's like when I was working on the show with you, he'd come in and some stuff, and I'd go, "Oh my God, that is cool! Like really cool," you know? And I go, "I can wear that." No. Now, if LeVar wears this, right, and this is how he looks wearing this, it's like
Star Trek Kanye.
you know, just as cool. People say, yeah, cool. Now, if I wore that, that's what I look like.
Michael, in your own defense, and we have talked about this, you have found your own style.
Thank God for Barbados.
Thank God
for
John
Barbados.
Barbados, because you look great.
Thank you
in
very
his
much.
clothes.
Thank you very much.
I'm
Anyway.
loving this bonding we're having over fashion.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
How are you?
I'm
Good
good.
to see you.
So,
Did you have questions for us?
I have a couple questions, and then of course we'll throw it to the audience in a little bit.
Is anybody having a good time? Good to know.
That's the important part, right? So yeah, you guys have been busy. There's lots of voice work. There's directing. You know, LeVar, you've been doing a lot of directing lately, right? NCIS.
NCIS NOLA is good. 2, 3. No, I love the show. I love the crew, and of course I love Scott Bakula.
We know him.
And I get to go to New Orleans twice a year.
Oh, glorious.
To shoot. Once in the
That's a great
summer,
city.
yeah, which is not so great because it's really humid in New Orleans in the summer. But it's just an amazing city, and I've fallen in love, and really, I think it's one of the most special places on the planet, New Orleans.
That's great to hear. I'm going for the first time. And
Are you really?
Yeah, a friend of mine's getting married.
Here's what you need to look forward to.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear the secrets of New Orleans.
It's only 2 words. Day drinking.
I think I might be able to oblige you on that.
That's a thing in New Orleans. Day drinking. Yep. It's practically a social imperative.
So, Michael, have you been anywhere cool lately? So, Laura's clearly in love with New Orleans.
Yeah, actually, I took a vacation.
Where'd you go?
Japan.
Nice.
And I gotta tell you, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It was, you've been there, right?
We went 3 summers ago.
Yeah.
As a family. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like,
Where'd you go?
we went to Kyoto, and we stayed in a little town called Uji.
Ooh, very nice.
And then we went to Tokyo.
Yes. So you did Kyoto first and then
Kyoto
Tokyo?
first, then Tokyo. And it appealed to my orderly nature.
Your orderly aesthetic. I get it.
I have a very orderly nature.
Yep.
And they were so nice.
Politest people on the planet. More polite than Canadians.
Is that possible?
If that's possible. If that's possible, and it is. They are.
Sorry, they just usurped Canadians.
Yeah. In the nice department.
And the nice department. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love the temples.
Yes.
We went to a bunch of the temples. We went to a Shogun temple with the
Shogun era.
yeah, with the samurais. And it's very funny because this is how super interesting. This was like they were built in like the 1000s or something like
right.
that. And they built the floors in a way that when you walk on it, it sounded like, people were going, those canaries. It sounds like canaries. And they built that so that if any enemies tried to sneak in, they hear
Security system.
but it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And so anyway, well, that was fabulous.
Wonderful, wonderful country, wonderful culture, wonderful culture.
And clean.
Yes. Yes.
The trains.
Yes.
Even if they're older, super clean.
Buses, city buses.
And two other things. They respect each other's, space.
Personal space.
So there's no loud talking on phones.
Nope.
No cell phones on the trains.
Nope.
And they are on time.
Yes, they are.
It ain't New York City, where I'm right outside New York, so.
Oh, I mean,
The MTA is the van of all of us.
let me tell you something. They had we were going. I think we were going from Tokyo. No, we were going to Tokyo, and the train was supposed to leave at 5:04, odd time. At 5:04, the train was gone. It was amazing. I loved it.
Michael is a sucker for punctuality, clearly.
You know what I
You've
love
done some
about
voice
Japan?
work too lately, right? You've done some voice work, right?
Oh, yes, voice work?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah. I did just recently. I did a thing for the the Smithsonian, for the anniversary of the moon landing.
Oh, for Apollo 11, for 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon shot. Very nice. So your voice is going to be in the Smithsonian talking about the Apollo 11 moon shot?
Exactly.
I cannot wait to go
It was great.
and hear that.
Yeah, it was great.
Very nice. How did you observe the anniversary? Did you observe the anniversary?
Yes, I did. I had a quiet moment for all the astronauts.
Yeah.
The ones I had met.
Yes.
Passed on Dick,
Who have passed on?
Dick Gordon.
Right.
Also, and this is sort of like a little side thing, most people know I love aviation. And I had an F-86 Sabre jet at one point.
Yes, you
for
did.
About 4 years.
Yes, you did.
And when I sold it, my broker said, "Hey, Michael, I got a call from this guy who wants to look at your airplane. He really wants to think about it." Really? I said, "Who is it?" "It's Frank Borman." What? And I went, "Frank Borman? Frank Borman?" He said, "Yeah." And I'm sorry, I love you guys, but I was like you when he showed up.
Right.
And Frank Borman gets out of this Mitsubishi and he comes over and he's like, and I'm just like, "Hey, how you doing, man? What's going on?"
On the outside.
On the inside, oh, good.
Nice to know that you guys have the fan moment.
Oh,
With NASA and real astronauts.
NASA?
They're really, I think these people actually go up in space.
Oh, I know. I was hanging out with two guys from NASA last night. It was a
and
blast.
the thing is, they're saying, "Okay, we want you to be shot up into space in a rocket and go around the moon and come back, and we've never done this before." And you go, and they said, "Yeah, okay, cool."
Yeah, I volunteer.
But the last part of that is that he bought my airplane.
He did.
And so I went down to Chino and delivered the airplane, and he came and says, "Michael, tell me about the airplane, and I started explaining to Frank, "Okay, Frank, when you start the airplane, you got to jockey the throttle a little bit, and you do this," and he goes, "Yeah, I think I remember that." And I go, "Yes. And these dials here, if you remember that, if you do that, it will burble, and you don't." He says, "Yeah, I think I remember that." And I go, "Oh my God." He flew this airplane in combat. And I went, "I'm teaching Frank Borman." And I said, "Frank, just tell me if you see anything that you don't recognize."
You're selling your baby to him, though.
Oh, and he was, but you know what? It was great. And I had a week of watching all that stuff. I just
Really?
Yeah, you and I were both.
Yeah,
we loved it.
very, 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 very big fans of
So that's
of the space program, especially the way it used to be. Big fan of Charlie Bolden's, former head of NASA, NASA administrator. Don't even know who the person is now, but I know that they're not connected to space or to the space program. Hidden Figures. Right? Nope, that was not in any textbook I had as a child, and that's a damned shame. That's a story. That's amazing, right? You see, that's America. Do you mind?
No, do I mind? No, I do not mind. Especially about talking about ladies in the space program. There's some wonderful women who made a contribution that we only recently now know about.
Absolutely. And I think that this is a country that doesn't tell its own story well. Because
and you would know about who tells the story well.
We leave so much out of the story. Like your friend, Andrew Jackson. Michael was reading a book, a biography of Andrew Jackson last year. Was it last year?
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii. And I gave him such shit every time because
I said, they said, what are you reading? I said, I'm reading this book about Andrew Jackson. He said, yeah, the one that killed all the Indians? Yes, LeVar. He was this, the one that had all the slaves? I said, you don't like him, do you?
Not at all.
But yeah, it is.
And he was a president too, wasn't he? Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, for me, not to know about Hidden Figures was something that was just...
It's unconscionably not okay.
And these women were sending these guys into space.
They were responsible for the calculations that not only sent them, but brought them home.
Have you seen the photo of Margaret Hamilton with all that code that she wrote, standing up next to her? I love that photo.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So we don't do a good job of telling our own story. We tell the story of how America was founded. We cite, and I did read this in the textbooks when I was a kid, we cite something called manifest destiny, which basically means that God said we should come to this land and steal it from the native peoples. And that was okay, right? Manifest destiny.
I think we need a redefinition. I'm going to put you in charge of that.
All right. Don't put two black men in charge of redefining manifest destiny.
Oh, that's who we need.
Because you're going to get the truth.
We want the truth.
Not the sanitized,
I have a question.
Make America Great Again version. We will give you the truth. T-R-U-F-F. The truth.
Well, I have a question. Since we
You have a question? You have a question.
So if you guys could have authored one book already written, what would you want to have penned?
Ooh.
I thought that would be a good LeVar question and a good Michael question, since you guys are both such avid readers.
Wow. I've never been asked this question before, so
Ooh, I love
I'm
it.
really excited. But it's hard. It's hard.
It's a hard one.
Actually,
You have one?
Yeah. I just read, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle, and I'm engrossed in it, of Thomas Paine's, not the Age of Reason.
That's what I was going to say.
What?
Common sense?
Uncommon sense.
No, it's the third one.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm
Not a huge Thomas Paine fan.
Wow.
I mean, aficionado. I mean, I love the concepts, but I'm not that familiar. I didn't know he had three. I thought there were two.
No, there was three. There's Common Sense, there's Age of Reason, and there's another one.
Well, we all have smartphones.
We do, right?
Thank you.
What's it called?
The Rights of Man.
The Rights of Man. The Rights of
He would
Thank
have. There's a lot of stuff about. I mean, one of the things that he fought to have slavery out of the Constitution, but he lost.
He lost.
He lost that.
He lost that.
He lost another one about voting and stuff like that. He lost that one.
He lost that
Anyway.
one.
Did you
Anyway,
get the one, LeVar?
For very personal reasons, and it's not a great book, but it is the book that I was reading when I got what reading offered me. It's a Captain's Courageous Rudyard Kipling.
Oh, wonderful.
Kipling gets applause.
Kipling of all things.
And that would be the book, because for me, when I finished that book, I recognized that I had been somewhere that was not, my bedroom in Sacramento, California. I was on a journey, and that when it was over, when I closed the book, turned the last page and closed the book, I got really sad because I was leaving that world. Now, as an adult, I recognize that as early stage depression.
That's not funny, I'm sorry.
Well, it is if you suffer.
Really? What's that?
Well, the sadness of leaving that world and those characters behind, it hit me. It hit me hard. And to this day, when I'm reading a particularly good piece of fiction, I slow down. I savor the last couple of chapters because I'm forestalling that sadness, that sense of, oh, I'm done.
And you talk a little bit about that on your podcast, and tell everyone where to find your podcast.
Anybody listening to the LeVar Burton Reads podcast?
Yeah.
Only the smart ones.
It's called LeVar Burton Reads.
LeVar Burton.
Why wouldn't you?
I read a short story in every episode, and I say at the beginning of every episode, the only thing these stories have in common is that I love them, and I hope you will too. And so I read short fiction, a lot of science fiction and fantasy, because that's my go-to genre. And I'm pleased to still be connecting adults now who grew up on reading Rainbow with new authors.
I told LeVar backstage I've been a big fan of his since I was little. And have my master's in English.
You have your master's in English lit, so,
Yep.
like my mom.
And I remember when the episode came on when you took the viewers to the set of The Next Generation, and my mom was like, "These are two things Amy loves." That she's like, "You have to watch it."
One of my favorite moments, I have two favorite moments in the Reading Rainbow episode behind the scenes of Star Trek. One is where Rob Legato, the visual effects supervisor, shows us how we did the transporter sparkles with glitter stirred in water, and that was the effect that was the phenomenon that they photographed to create that special effect, right? And the other moment is a moment when Michael Dorn is stepping out of the makeup trailer, and he says, careful, stand aside, I take big steps. Right?
So I know we're gonna get the question from the audience. I'm gonna have two things before we take questions. Well, first one is they're gonna ask the Picard show. Where do you see Geordi and Worf now? Do you think you would return to them if you were asked?
I'll let you answer.
Michael's passing it to LeVar.
What's the question?
Geordi and Worf, where do you think they are now?
I have no idea.
And if we asked to return, would you say yes?
Well, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. If they ask nicely.
I think
If
they're
that's
more
nice,
excited about it.
Put some zeros behind that ass.
The thing is with me is that it all...
You don't need money.
Well, it comes with a caveat.
You got all that Deep Space Nine cash.
Oh yeah.
Still under my mattress.
$1.
Now, there's always a caveat with me, which is getting back in makeup 3 hours every day. It's not an easy process, and it's not fun. And that's the only thing that kind of, But I'm with LeVar. If they ask nicely, then yeah, be better.
Oh, we can't wait. We hope they ask. So actually, LeVar has something really cool that he brought today.
Is it show and tell?
It's show and tell time. You're gonna love it.
So, for years, I have been promising to bring the visor, because invariably at a con during the Q&A, there's somebody who asks, what could you see out of the visor? And my answer is very little. And then I go on to explain that I put the visor on by screwing it into my head. Exactly. Yeah. So, I brought the visor.
Hold your mic.
Okay, visor carrying case.
It's a group effort.
You would put this is so cool. I should be recording this now.
These are the two male ends of the screws that fit into the female ends of the visor.
Look at this. Look how cool this is.
I used to be able to do this with it on my face, but I can't anymore because I'm woefully out of practice. It's only been, like 30 years. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Look at this. That can't be too comfortable.
After about a half an hour, it's time to take it off for a minute. But see, I didn't like, you guys. I screwed the visor into my head. I rest my case.
Thank you so much for bringing that little piece of Star Trek history.
Now to get it off.
Now he has to take it off. It's we're gonna light up the question askers and we're gonna get them on deck. Who do we got? We got somebody over here. We got somebody over here. All right. LeVar's handling it.
I just want to say first, I grew up with Star Trek: The Next Generation, and
this side.
Oh yeah, this side.
He can see now. He can see her now.
I grew up with Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's the show I know the most and probably love the most because of that, simply. But also because it's just a great show. You guys have already talked about it a little bit ago, but I just basically wanted to ask about how excited you are for Star Trek Picard and your thoughts and feelings about it generally.
I'm always happy when my friends
Are working.
are working. Always happy for them, especially when they get something that is really amazing. Everybody, I mean, whenever one of them has I'm just like, oh, head over heels. I think it's from what I've seen, I think it's going to be super interesting. There's always a disconnect, not a disconnect, that's not the right word for it. There's always a time where you see how it's going to be, then you see the reality, where it is a really tenuous time, because, everybody's excited about it. Oh, this is going to be super interesting, and blah, blah. I think the premise is interesting. I think all of it is interesting. Just have to wait and see how it comes together. But I'm a fan of all my friends on the show, so I'm pulling for them.
And I can't wait. I'm a fan of Star Trek. Have been since the original series, and Picard is my favorite captain.
I'm shocked. Next question.
You had two captains.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But I'm not going to ask you to declare which one is your favorite.
There's fighting words.
I'm not afraid.
Go ahead.
No, Picard is my favorite captain. Yeah, and I got to say, because at first, we all kind of knew Avery, and we didn't know Patrick Stewart,
Right.
Just a little bit, just hints when he first started. But we did a show, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was the first season, maybe the second or third show, And I was still looking at them like, well, this is an interesting choice. You know, I didn't judge it, but I was like,
The bald British guy?
yeah, you know, I mean, okay. But he did this one speech, and I went, oh, yes,
I get it now.
I get it, yeah. So
He doesn't suck.
he does not suck.
Does not.
No.
You heard it here first, you guys. He doesn't suck. Okay, we're ready for you over here.
First of all, thank you for putting up with the visor for so long. And LeVar, when you interact, how do you choose your camera angles and all that good jazz?
That's actually a good question. I don't always choose them. There are certain, when I'm prepping, there are certain things that I want to see through the lens, and I'm very specific about those images. A lot of the time, I leave it to the DP because that's his area of expertise, right? The director of photography knows much more about about photographing the work than I ever will. My father was a photographer. I'm an enthusiast when it comes to photography, but it's like I leave the making of the costumes to the pros, right? Same with where the camera is. Like I said, there are some images that I see in my head and I want to make sure that I get those for my cut. But most of the time, I'm collaborating with the director of photography. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Morgan.
Hey,
Morgan's
Amy.
gonna ask you guys
Hey,
questions.
guys.
Hi, Morgan.
Good to see you again.
You.
Well, Amy, I have a love-hate relationship with you right now because you kind of stole my question a little bit.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to ask anyway. She phrased up, books that have already been written that you'd like to rewrite or maybe change or have been a part of. But I'm curious, what is one book that you think everyone should read?
Michael? Oh, you know what? It's a very simple book too. I think everyone should read The Little Prince by a superhero. Everyone. What is important, what is essential, is invisible to the eye.
Beautiful choice. I love that book.
I think Cyrano de Bergerac.
Ooh.
If you get a chance to read it, actually read it's funny and poignant, and it goes to the heart of judging a book by its cover, which is something I'm very passionate about, is not judging a book by its cover.
When it comes to human beings, you mean?
Oh yeah, you miss
So much.
so much.
Yeah. That's a good choice, Michael. It's unexpected.
Thank you, guys.
Erudite.
What's it about?
Cyrano?
We got one over here.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. My question has to do with the novel Aftermath, which I just recently reread. And given that it was written, a minute ago.
A minute and a half.
But it's set right now.
It is, isn't it?
I was left wondering this is my question, whether or not Barack Obama has a copy of that book, but also if you had an opportunity to rewrite it.
I wouldn't touch a word. I would not
okay,
touch a word.
Well, given that you've lived through the span of time between when you wrote it and right now, is there anything that you would either include, remove, or simply update?
Well, there was a lot I got right.
Can you give like a two sentence summary?
In the foreword to the book, I predict a schism in America, where in the military, it begins in the military, where all of the white soldiers line up with a white general and the black soldiers line up with an African American commander. Simultaneously, there is an earthquake on the New Madrid Fault in the Midwest. There is a fire on the space station, which causes it to fall out of the sky, and the economy collapses. It's sort of a chain of events that lead to the opening. That's all before the novel starts.
That's impressive.
So I got some shit right. And I predicted an African American president when I didn't even believe we'd ever see one in my lifetime.
Wow.
Right? Am I right? So I think I'd stand pat. I couldn't have predicted our current situation, and wouldn't care to spend any more time thinking about it.
Good, thank you so much.
Our current situation, that is. You know what I mean.
Over here.
Hi, this is Michael. I actually walked by you a couple of times in the buying room, and I was too afraid to say hi, so hi.
But you're
It's always safer at a distance, isn't it?
I felt much safer in
Right?
that format. Yeah.
Right.
But then in the previous panel, Terry Farrell said some rather interesting things about the relationship you guys had. So I wondered if you had any comments about certain scenes you.
No. What did she say? What did she say?
We need to tell him what did she
What did
say?
she say?
She mentioned that her favorite scenes with you were, playing, touching, kissing, all of that.
Yeah.
So, especially in the wedding, if you had anything did that stand out to you? Do you still look back on
In the wedding?
Yes, like when you.
No, I wasn't a fan of the wedding. Just from a purely, it dealt with a lot of other stuff around us and people talking to her and wasn't,
It wasn't about the wedding, was it?
It wasn't about the wedding, and I didn't like the costumes. I thought they were just, I love Bob Blackman, but they kind of go.
It's hard to hit a home run every week.
Yeah. So, those weren't the wedding wasn't my favorite episodes. The episodes that I
What about the touching, Michael? She asked about the
Are you
touching.
going to see her?
The touching. You want to hear about the touching?
Let's hear about the touching.
The touching. I want to hear about the costume.
Yes, I understand. You don't have
Naughty
to.
over there.
I am a very lucky actor because I knew Terry before she got the show, and I always thought she was fabulous looking, and she still is fabulous looking for all my money. But to be able to you got lost sometimes in the touching and kissing. I really did.
Okay.
And the look on my face in a lot of those episodes where she finishes kissing me and I have this kind of stupid look on my face, that was Worf and Michael Dorn. That was sort of like, yeah, that was nice.
More fun later.
Yeah, no, and yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one. You have to follow that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. My name is Ryan, and I am a blind engineer. And I would like to know.
Oh, Ryan, we took a picture earlier.
Yes,
didn't
we did.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. So I would like to know, how did you prepare to play a blind engineer? And knowing already that there weren't any cane skills to learn, you didn't have to learn how to navigate with Pumpkin here, but you had that wonderful visor that you have up there, and oh gosh, I wish I could actually see it with my hands, but we'll leave that alone for now. Anyway, I'm curious how you prepared for this role.
The hardest thing, Ryan, was learning how to move around with the kind of confidence that the chief engineer needed to move around the ship without seeing my feet, right? And so the first season was really painful and full of bruises, but I got used to it. I got used to walking around and moving quickly without seeing my feet. I'm bringing the visor to you, Ryan, so you can see it. There you go. That's it.
Wow.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Incredible.
That was fun.
That was awesome.
That was
Thank you
awesome.
so much.
That was awesome. Thank you, Ryan. You know, that's what I love about Star Trek. I mean, it's one of the things that I love about Star Trek is the world that Gene created is all about diversity and inclusion, and that all of the variety that life itself offers is respected and honored in the Star Trek universe. And you know, that moment I will never forget.
It's very moving to see how many people, you know, have come up to you and said, you know, thank you for portraying this particular disability. Blind characters are very unusual on television.
And people dealing with physical challenges are still rare in the popular culture, just as seeing people who looked like us was very rare in the 60s, and it's the reason why my family and I gravitated towards Star Trek, because it was a place where we were able to see a representation of us that was positive, right? That Uhura was in the command structure on this ship, and she had the respect of the captain and the other crew members. At a time in my life when being a young black kid in Sacramento, California wasn't so much freaking fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Michael?
Oh, it wasn't a ball.
In Altadena either, was it? So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, now you have to follow that. Go ahead.
My best shot. Anyway, my question is for both of you, if that's okay. But given the fact that 17 years ago, Nemesis was not really a success as we hoped, and since then the J.J. Abrams movies and Discovery kind of took over the Star Trek landscape, I was kind of delighted, or I was very delighted and extremely surprised when the new Picard news came out last year and Patrick Stewart came out on stage and whatnot.
In this very room, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right? It was like a year ago now.
I was wondering, you know, with each of you gentlemen, how surprised each of you were when you first heard about this, that Star Trek with Picard and, you know, Data was coming back. Were you as surprised as I was?
Is Data in it?
Yes. Yes. Yes, he is.
Where?
I think you gotta catch up with Brent.
Hey, he didn't say anything to me.
He didn't tell me that.
Bastard.
You didn't know either.
Completely rude.
Really?
It's true. No. Data's dead.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
That's what I watched him go.
I watched him die.
I watched him. He left, and then he didn't come back. And it blew up over there. So,
You know,
Trailer.
the one thing I was surprised about that I will say is that I would bet good money that Patrick would not come back to the show.
same. Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the thing that surprises me more than anything.
The Star Trek, the Next Generation. I felt that they finally caught up to the rest of the world that the Next Generation still had, you know, was viable.
I think the rest of the world caught up to Next Gen in terms of its appreciation of what we did for 7 seasons. That was pretty extraordinary.
Well, I mean the Paramount and CBS.
Those guys.
So
Yes.
they're not the world.
Yeah.
The rest of the world was going, hey, when are we going to see Next Generation? They were going, we want to do Next Generation. And finally, they got it. But, like I said, I would have bet
Good money.
good money. Not all the money.
No, not all the money.
Not that. I wouldn't have bet the Deep Space Nine.
Not the mattress money.
Next Generation money, yes. But not Deep Space Nine money. That Patrick would never have done it.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're getting a wrap-up signal, unfortunately, but it's been splendid.
Ah.
Oh, well, there's a pilot friend over here. I think. All right.
You're not a pilot?
No?
Are you a pilot or are you not, sir?
I'm a real pilot. Yes, but real quick question.
Is that an allusion to the first season where Geordi flew the ship?
No.
No?
Real F-16s, stealth, and yeah, real.
You fly the stealth?
Oh man, that's some cred over here.
And
can I shake your hand?
Of course you can.
God bless you, brother. God bless you.
Wow. Well, my question, quickly, I guess you see the band, is your families. The role that your families played. I don't know if you were married at the time of the series, or if you weren't, siblings, or mother, father. Your family's, I guess, influence on where you took these iconic characters.
That's a good one to end on.
Thank you so much.
Well, I will tell you. I will tell you very, very quickly because I'm about to get played off. This is not the Academy Awards, okay? Very quickly, though, how the nature of the importance of families, and how for all of us, we all became each other's family in addition to our blood relatives. By example, October 3rd, 1982, I got married, and my best man was Brent. 92? 92, thank you, Michael, 1992.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
You're in trouble.
Do not tell my wife. Oh shit. There are cameras everywhere.
They're not going to tweet about it, it's fine.
Yeah, they're not going to tweet about it. No. The day I got married, my best man was Brent Spiner. My groomsmen were Jonathan Frakes, Patrick Stewart, and Michael Dorn.
Real fast, my family, they just kept me grounded. And my mother, up until the last year of the show, thought that it was just a fluke. And she said,
"Happy you were working."
I said, "Mom, we're going into our 7th season." She goes, "Michael, that's really good. But they're hiring down at the post office."
Mom, right? All right, we're going to wrap it up, but thank you. This was some wonderful moments today. Oh, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Thank you.